Hey Procraftinators, today I'm here to show you what I did with the Simon Says Stamp June card kit. And I decided to mass produce some cards here. And I don't know about you all, but I don't know, I always struggle with the cut aparts in scrapbook pads and paper kits and stuff like that. Everyone seemed to enjoy the spray background that I did for the Team Tiny Tea Time video hop. So I looked at the cut aparts in this kit, and I just decided that I would make some more spray backgrounds. So I pulled out my oxides and a couple other dye inks sprays to go with the oxides. And I just had some fun here. So I know that several people in the comments said that they struggle with spray inks. So I left quite a few of these backgrounds in, not all of them, but I left quite a few of them in. And this is sped up a little bit, and I cut out the heat drying with my tool here. So I'm popping up the colors on the screen here, and most of the time I did heat set between each color. And I don't know if the people that said that they are struggling, if they don't heat set between each color. You will get different results if you don't heat set between, if you do heat set. So this first one here, I'm heat setting between each color. And as you can see, I am using a variety of oxides and dye inks. So you will get different results with that too. Because the dye ink is transparent where an oxide is opaque. So I do layer my dye inks on top of the oxides versus the oxides on top of the dye inks. Now you can do both, but the oxides will cover up the dye inks. So just keep that in mind. So as you can see, I'm doing a little bit of variety of spraying and splattering and a little bit of variety of both. I'm just having fun here. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does a background. Just have fun with it. And you will see later on I do a mix of spraying up close and spraying way above and stuff like that. You just have fun with it. So here's another one. I think this one you will see that I believe this is the one that I don't heat. Yeah, I don't heat set in between this. So you will see that I leave a tiny little clip of me heat setting in between, so you know which ones I heat set and which ones I don't. So this one I'm not heat setting in between. And you will notice that this one, the colors will blend more between each other because I did not heat set between. So this one I'm spraying that antique linen way up above my piece, so I get more of a combined mist, I guess, instead of a yeah, see how they're combining there? But anyway, if you spray it close, you're going to get more of a concentrated color. But if you spray way above, see there I heat set between doing the dye ink and the oxide. Anyway, if you spray way above, it's going to be more of a mist. If you spray really close, you're going to get a concentrated color. That's what I was trying to say. So here I am spraying way above again. And then I'm going to heat set. And there's my, I didn't show the finished one on that one, but you will see the finished ones in all of them. Sometimes I forgot to show it to the camera before I took it out of the box. All right, and then this one I sprayed the lighter, I don't remember, the lighter orange in the center and the darker orange around the corners. I do pop up all the colors, or try to pop up all the colors on the screen. And then I heat set. Now I'm going to do my dye inks. And with the spray bottles on the Dilutions ones, I have a better luck with this than the oxides. But if you just do like a half spray, you get more of a splatter look, whereas the full spray will give you a mist. I do like that about those bottles. I don't know if maybe it's just if it's the sprayer on the spray bottle, or if it's the actual ink that allows you to do that. I'm not really sure, but I do like how I can do that versus having to actually take out and I do sometimes take out the little sprayer like I did there and splatter it, because you get bigger droplets when you do that. But it is nice to be able to have that half spray, so I don't have to take out the sprayer every time. That's when I'm just going back through and using all the colors that I sprayed on it and splattering them on. And I do have the cut aparts laying off to the side, and I'm trying to somewhat match the colors to the cutter parts that I'm going to be using for each one of these panels. So that way I'm not going all crazy pants here with the colors. And of course I'm not getting a complete match because I don't have, colors that match exactly, but I am trying to use colors that will match these cut parts in the end. Sometimes you'll see me flip it around like I did there. And that's because, obviously there's a bit of a spray pattern or a splatter pattern when you do some of this. So I don't want all my splatter going the same exact direction. So I will turn it around every once in a while if I see that it looks like my splatter is going the same direction. As you can see here, I am bringing that cut apart out and saying, well, can I get away with just the ice spruce and that bundled sage, or should I add some of that orange? And I was really hesitant to add the orange, but I did heat set really well, so I felt that I could get away with the orange without making mud. And so I added the lighter orange, and I am really bad with the names today. So I'm going to, it's the dried marigold. Now I'm going to add the spiced marmalade because I felt like it just didn't have enough orange. And I did spray that one from way up above, so I got kind of a mist. And I think I did splatter it, or I will splatter it. I'm talking too much and not really paying attention to the video a whole lot. So, but I did get away with adding the orange without making mud, was my point. And so same with this one, I did the ice spruce, and now I'm going to add the abandoned coral, and I heat set in between, that way I do not get mud. And I'm just going to splatter on some of this abandoned coral. Heat set again, and then I can add the spiced marmalade without fear of making nasty colors. Then I did use the sponge sugar, and it doesn't show up real well on some of these darker backgrounds, but I feel like it just adds a little tinge of pink, and it kind of lightens up some of the colors. Same with the antique linen. I added it too, just to it's kind of like adding vanilla to your chocolate or something. It just kind of lightens it up and doesn't make it so in your face or something. I don't really know. I felt like it just kind of added a little something, but it wasn't like, it's not like you could really see that particular color a whole lot. It just kind of lightened it up a little bit. And then I went in here with that Dylusions bubblegum pink. That color is, wow, that color is in your face. That is a vibrant color. But as you can see, once you heat set it, because it is a transparent color, it does lighten up a little bit. And it shows the other colors that are behind it. This one I felt like I played with a lot. It was like going in a bad direction, and for a while there it was almost like the more I added to it, the worse it got, but I was just not willing to give up on it. So I think this was the final part where I was just like, okay, I'm going to add some white and call it good. All right, so now we're going to stamp the insides. And when I do mass production, often I don't like to stamp the same thing over and over and over again. I get very bored easily. So what I decided to do here was I decided to use these two butterflies from the stamp set that came in the kit. And I just swapped out the sentiment each time. Especially because the cut aparts, they don't all say the same thing. So if I stamp the same sentiment on each one, it may not make sense for the inside. So I just decided, I picked out a sentiment for each card, and I had enough sentiments in that stamp set that I could have each of the 8 cards say something different on the inside, which actually worked perfectly. There might have even been a sentiment or 2 left over in the stamp set, I can't remember, but each one had a different sentiment. There was enough sentiments in that stamp set that each one could say something different. And here I'm going to show you which ones I picked. Oh, well, I guess I didn't show you very well on that one, but most of them I will show you real quick which ones I picked for each one. And we will go over in the end a little bit closer view of what each card looked like in the end. But anyway, so I just swapped out the sentiment basically on each one. There are a couple that the sentiment was so large that I did take off that top butterfly. But for the most part, I just swapped out the sentiment in the middle. And for each butterfly, I did I did pick a coordinating color that matched with one of the oxide colors that I used on the outside of the card. Or I think there might be a couple of them that I used squeeze lemonade, which I didn't use in the cards on the outside, I don't think, but it matches that that yellow Dilutions ink pretty well that I used on the outside, so I figured that was close enough. So we're just going to speed through this fairly quickly and just get all of the 8 cards stamped out. And then we will move on to just a quick little view of each of the 8 cards finished up. I'm not going to show you putting on the gluing on all the panels, and I did add rhinestones from the from Nuvo on each one of them, and I'm definitely not going to show you that because that was a very tedious task with all those little rhinestones. So I hope that everybody is doing well. It has been a stressful couple of weeks here. We had a basement flood. That was not fun. It wasn't a terrible flood, but it wasn't real minor either. So that has not been a fun experience. My craft room is down in the basement. Luckily, the craft room was not terribly affected, but it was affected. None of my paper crafting supplies were harmed in the process, thankfully, but we had to fight a little bit to get things covered. Apparently, water coming in from the outside of your house is not always covered under insurance, and we had a main water line break almost 2 years ago, and we had it replaced, and the plumber failed to cap off the old water line, and our neighbors, well, I guess it was almost 2 weeks ago that this happened. Our neighbors had their main water line break, and the water coming from their house down the hill to our house, plus a heavy rain, all that water backed up the old water line and into our basement. So that was not a fun experience. And now it took a little bit to, well, at first I fought with the plumber to come out and fix it, and he was not willing to fix his mistake. After a few days of fighting with him, they did finally come out and cap the old pipe at least, but they were not willing to fix the damages to my house. So I called the insurance company, and it took a couple days for them to investigate and figure out whether they were going to cover the damages. So in the meantime, we're trying to dry out the house with, like box fans and stuff, which is really not the proper equipment to do that. So finally they did, anyway, my insurance company did decide to cover it, and they're going to go after the plumber for the damages. But it was kind of a long process, and I'm freaking out about my wet walls and wet carpet and stuff like that. But anyway, now there's a bunch of fans and dehumidifiers and all this craziness in my craft room, in our laundry room, in our garage, so it's been a bit of a hectic 2 weeks that we've been dealing with this, and now we're going to have a contractor come in and replace drywall, replace flooring, that kind of stuff. So it's been a hectic couple of weeks, and it's definitely a mess in my craft room right now because things did have to get moved. I have this little, it's not really a closet because it doesn't have a door, but this little storage area underneath the stairs that had a lot of stuff crammed in there, and so now all of that is in the middle of my craft room, and it's kind of a mess. So things have been kind of hard to create in my craft room. So we're just about finished up here, I think, and then we will show the finished cards. I think we've got one more to stamp out after this one. But so if anybody has had their basement flood, I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about, that this has not been a fun experience at all. And I am so looking forward to my house being put back together and my craft room being the way it is supposed to be. The guy came and checked on the fans and the dehumidifier this morning, or the dehumidifiers this morning, and they were supposed to be removed from my craft room today, but they need a little bit longer. So fingers crossed that they will be removed tomorrow, which is, I believe, when this video should be going live. So fingers crossed that when this video goes live that my craft room will at least have all the loud fans removed, which will make it a little bit easier for me to work in my craft room. All right, so this was the last one that needed to be stamped. And we are going to move on to the finished cards so you can take a peek at all of those. I did have a lot of fun making these cards. I hope that you learned a little bit about the sprays at least, and hopefully we'll give them a try if you have them sitting in your craft room and you have been frustrated with them in the past. Oh, this is the only one I'm going to kind of assemble for you on camera, by the way. I just kind of wanted to show the craft foam. That is, I buy that in a large roll from Amazon. I mean, like a really large roll. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 36 inches wide, and I don't know how long, but I buy it in a really large roll. It's cheaper that way for me. And then I just cut pieces off, and I happened to run that through my Xyron machine. And then of course the Xyron adhesive ran out, so then I had to put score tape on the other side. But I thought it was kind of ingenious that I remembered that I had the Xyron machine and ran it through the Xyron, and made it a lot easier. Anyway, so here are the finished cards. And I hope that you guys learned something about the sprays, and will give the sprays a try if you have them sitting in your craft room and you've been frustrated in the past. Just try maybe try heat setting in between if you haven't done that already. I believe that it makes them so they don't run together, and it gives you more texture, layers of texture in between. So I hope that you enjoyed the projects today, and we'll give this a try. If you haven't, if you're like me and don't feel that you know what to do with these cut aparts, I think this is a very easy project to make a lot of cards fast. It didn't really take me all that long to do this. I didn't time myself, and I don't remember how much footage I had, but I did have a lot of fun making the backgrounds, and these were very simple cards to make. I mean, I matted those cut aparts on some black cardstock, then made the backgrounds and matted those on some black cardstock and popped them together and threw some rhinestones on. They were very simple cards to make, and now I have 8 cards to add to my stash to give to people. So I hope that you enjoyed the cards today, and I will see you next time. And as always, have a great day.